Hey, before we get into this deck review and upgrade, just want to make an announcement. We are giving away one of each of the Artherdrift Precons. Make sure to go to the last video, the Eternal Might upgrade, comment on your favorite zombie movie. That's a fun one right there. And then for this one, for a chance to win the Living Energy Precon, let me know what your favorite energy card is. And then a week after this video goes live, we're going to be, addressing the winner live on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/chaotic-commander-mtg. Make sure to check it out, and don't forget to make those comments. Hey, Chaotic crew, Brian here, and we've got the second Precon upgrade for Artherdrift. I'm going to go over the deck, how it comes in the box. And then we're going to take 15 cards out, put 15 cards in. That's going to make it really strong in your friend group, right? So you can feel like you're playing the game and doing lots of good stuff. This is a fun deck. It's led by Saheeli, Radiant Creator. She's a 4/4 for 4. Whenever you cast an Artificer artifact spell, you get an energy counter. And at the beginning of combat, you may pay 3 energy. When you do, create a token that's a copy of target permanent you control, except it's a 5/5 artifact creature in addition to its other types and has haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So, interesting card here. Very similar to the other energy Precon commander from Modern Horizons. That was the Jeskai energy where he would make a token no matter what whenever he attacked. And then you could pay energy equal to its mana value to keep it alive at the end step. So I think that one's a bit stronger in terms of being able to get strong creatures and keep them on the battlefield. But this one is really good where, you can still make the copies of really strong creatures. I think green as a color, you can make a lot stronger creatures than white gives you access to. So you can definitely go a little bit of a different direction here. Me as a big creature guy, you might notice that in my upgrades, I'll tend to to bring some of the big creatures in. But this deck, what the Wizards does is they sort of make it focused on energy and energy only, and Thopters is a big theme in here as well, so that's going to be interesting to take a look at. Let's just get into the deck itself. Starting off with Loyal Apprentice, it's a human artificer, 2/1 haster. You make Thopters at each combat if you have your commander, which is nice. So this could be really good to sort of get blockers, but also, your commander can make tokens of the Thopters if you're in a pinch, I guess. Really, it's an artificer to proc your commander's ability. Ornithopter of Paradise is a nice mana dork to get your commander out on turn 3. Reckless Fireweaver is nice. Your commander's making artifacts. We have a decent amount of artifacts in here. It kind of makes you a massive target, though, for your opponents. So maybe this might be one I'm taking out. Servant of the Conduit's nice. Elf Druid, though, no Artificer subtype. When it enters, you get 2 energy, and then you can pay an energy, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. So this is a good way to get your commander out turn 3 as well, but you're not going to have a ton of energy to work with. I mean, yes, you'll net 1 if you use this to cast your commander. Architect of the Untamed has landfall. When a land you control enters, you get an energy counter, which is nice. You can sort of get one or two a turn. And you can pay 8 energy to make a 6/6 beast. Interesting there. Pima Trailblazer, a new card. 3 mana for a 3/3 with trample. When this creature deals combat damage to a player, you get that many energy counters. Okay. Exhaust, pay 6 energy, put 2 +1/+1 counters on this creature, then draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures that you control. So this is really good. That Exhaust is a once per turn, or once only ability. But if you're making token copies, that's not bad. If you say you make a token copy of this with your commander by paying 3 energy, enters, it's a 5/5, you swing in. If you deal combat damage to a player, let's say you make 3 energy back, right, or 2 energy, and then later if you have 6 energy, you could pay 6 and draw at least 5 cards. So that's or I guess 7 cards if you're using the tokens ability. So this actually synergizes really well with your commander and is a nice way to make energy, especially early on. Pianalar is the alternate commander of the deck. When one or more artifact creatures you control deal combat damage, you get 2 energy. And at the beginning of your end step, you may pay 1 or more energy. If you do, make an XX, a colorless vehicle, named Nalar Aetherjet with flying in crew 2, where X is the amount of energy spent this way. So essentially, the more energy you put in, the more energy you'll get back over time. So that can be nice there. Rogue Refiner, not an Artificer as well. Maybe that gets changed in this new printing, but when it enters, you draw a card and you get 2 energy. So that's pretty nice. If you decide to copy with your commander to draw that card, you'll end up getting 2 of that energy back. Sign Master Thopterist is an Artificer, and whenever you cast an artifact spell, you'll make a Thopter. You can also sacrifice 2 artifacts and pay 2 mana to draw a card, so kind of a way to utilize those artifacts that have to be sacrificed at the end step. But other than that, he's just making you Thopters, and he's an Artificer to proc your commander. Stridehanger Automaton is a new card. Thopters get +1/+1, and whenever one or more tokens would be artifact tokens would be created under your control, those tokens plus an additional 1/1 Thopter artifact token with flying are created instead. So kind of a an Academy Manufactor, but for Thopters. Pretty neat here. Really great to proc your commander, but also, every time your commander's using their ability, you're getting Thopters with it, so really strong. Whirler Virtuoso is an amazing Artificer for the deck. Can make Thopters, but also when it enters, you get 3 energy counters, so really strong there. Druid of Purification, a fantastic green enter the battlefield, artifact enchantment hate card. You pretty much vote with your the other people to destroy artifacts and enchantments, and none of them can be yours, so it at least gets 1 artifact or enchantment, but typically it gets 2 or 3 in my case. Nissa World Soul Speaker is another new card. 4 mana for a legendary elf druid. Has landfall. When a land enters, you get 2 energy, so a little bit better than this architect up here. And Nissa also has, you can pay 8 energy rather than pay the mana cost for permanent spells you cast. So if you got a really strong permanent you want to cast, you can use 8 energy, right? So that's pretty neat. Pima Aether Seers is nice in the deck. It enters and you get an amount of energy equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. And then you can, essentially kill a creature by making it block this turn, so that's not bad. Pia and Kira Nalar is an Artificer, makes 2 1/1 Thopters, and then you can sacrifice an artifact to deal 2 damage to any target. Again, this is sort of another way to take advantage of your commander's second ability, but it's kind of expensive, and you only get 1 energy by casting this anyways. Something to think about. Solemn Simulacrum, a fantastic card in any artifact deck. And even though we're in green, I think we want most of our ramp to be artifacts just because we want to proc our commander's ability. And it's good though, especially with those cards that get energy when lands enter. So great for that. And then when it dies, you draw a card. So fantastic. Whirler Rogue, 4 mana for a 2/2 Artificer. When it enters, you make 2 Thopters, and then you can tap 2 untapped artifacts you control. Target creature can't be blocked this turn. I think that second one ability is good enough to keep it in the deck. I was thinking about cutting this one, but we do have a lot of, especially with the alternate commander, Pia, and the, Pima Trailblazer as well. They wanted to be dealing combat damage, so having a way to make our creatures unblockable, this is really strong in the deck. Elder Gargaroth, a fantastic, creature in green. Vigilance, Reach, Trample, 6/6. When it attacks or blocks, you make a 3/3 green beast. You gain 3 life for your draw card. So, very strong card here, and a fantastic target for your commander's second ability. Lightning Runner, also a great card. When it attacks, you're getting 2 energy, and then it also has double strike and haste. You can also pay 8 energy to make a second combat. So if you end up getting 11 energy at some point, you can get a second combat, and then also make sure that you can use your commander's ability multiple times. So you could build this deck and get multiple combats, but the trick is, producing the energy to do so. And there's not a ton of great ways, I think, to produce a lot of energy at once like that. Rampaging Aetherhood, an interesting card. It's new, 5 mana for a 4/4 Trample Ward 2. Beginning of your upkeep, you get an amount of energy equal to this creature's power. Then you may pay 1 or more energy. If you do, put that many 1/1 counters on this creature. So, interesting card there. It's a bit slow, especially in a deck that I think is already a tad slow, so I don't know how I feel about it. But it can be really scary for sure. Aether Tide Whale. When it enters, you get 6 energy, and then you can pay 4 to return it to its owner's hand. This is a, a way to sort of make a massive burst of energy in one go. So pretty solid there, but that's all you're really doing with it. It is a decent blocker too. Combustible Gear Hulk 6/6 first strike. When it enters, you can draw 3 cards, or I guess target opponent can either let you draw 3 cards or they'll have you mill 3 cards. And then if you mill 3, they'll take damage equal to the total mana value. So, it's very possible they could be taking 18 damage if they mill 3 of our, big stuff over here. But also possible that they maybe take, 5 damage, or they get 2 lands and a 2-drop. So, it's a chaos card. I love Combustible Gear Hulk. It's just a little inconsistent. Duplicant, really good removal card on a stick, so great to copy with your commander, and also gives it an energy. Territorial Aether Kite, a new card, Flying Haste. When it enters, you get 2 energy, then you may pay 1 or more energy. When you do, it deals that much damage to each other creature, so typically this will be a good way to get rid of a bunch of the small creatures on the board. You don't really want to be paying so much energy to be killing everything with this, in a deck like this that may be hungry for energy, so something to think about there, but it is a great card. Aether Skull Ancient gives you 3 energy at the beginning of your upkeep, and then you can pay 8, return all other creatures to their owner's hands, so a good way to wipe the board somewhat. Aetherwind Basker is a really fun card, 7 mana for a 7/7. When it enters or attacks, you get energy for each creature you control, so I think this is probably one of the better energy generators in the deck, right? If we're going to have, let's say we have 4 creatures in the battlefield by the time we get to Aetherwind Basker, including our commander, right? We cast it, we get 5 energy. Beginning of combat, we can pay 3, so we're netting 2 for the turn so far. And then we make a copy of this, it enters, we get 6 energy, so we've netted 8 energy for the turn. If we're able to get a second combat as well for whatever reason, we may have enough energy left over for that. We can also pay that 8 energy to give whatever we're attacking with, +1/+1. So, we could be getting a lot of of damage through that turn. And then Triplicate Titan, a 9/9 for 9. When it dies, you get 3 3/3s, each one with a different keyword, Flying, Vigilance, or Trample. It's a great card as well, especially with the sacrifice trigger on your commander to, continuously copy. We get Saheeli Sublime Artificer, which is not bad. When you cast a non-creature spell, you're making a 1/1 servo, and then you can -2 to make an artifact you control a copy of a different creature you control, so definitely strong there. Some spells, we've got Attune with Aether to sort of land fix us. Arcane Denials, classic. Reality Shift is good removal. Chaos Warp's good removal. Disallow is a fun counterspell. It also counters activated and triggered abilities, so your opponent sometimes won't see that coming, so this is a fun counter to have on your disposal. Chain Reaction is just a generic board wipe. Blasphemous Act is the other board wipe in here, and then we saw a couple different creature board wipes, so not bad, I would say, but most of them are damage based, which isn't exactly ideal to have in a deck. That's something to potentially look at. Confiscation Coup gives you, gives you 4 energy, then you can steal something by paying an amount of energy. So this can be annoying for your opponents. If you don't like stealing your opponent's things, you might take this one out. One with the Machine is decent card draw. 4 mana, draw cards equal to the highest mana value among artifacts. So that's not bad. Glimmer of Genius gives you energy, and then Explosive Vegetation is sort of a ramp piece. Moving on to the artifacts, Retrofitter Foundry is a way to sort of generate, tokens and whatnot. Soul Ring is fantastic, obviously. Soul Guide Lantern, fantastic graveyard hate. Adaptive Omni Tool is a new card. It's essentially a cranial plating that can get more artifacts to your hand, so always good. And getting more artifacts to your hand is definitely a helpful way for your commander to start generating more energy, so I think this is great in this deck too. Arcane Signet, fantastic ramp. Decoction Module is going to be amazing in this deck. We've got a ton of creatures, we're making tokens, and we're going to be getting an energy for each one, so solid there. Lightning Greaves, just fantastic as well to protect our commander. Solar Transformer gives us 3 energy, and we only need to pay 1 a turn from Infinity Color. Eventually we won't even need to do that, so really good there. Talisman of Curiosity, classic. Etheric Amplifier, a new one, 3 mana rock, and it can also pay 4, tap, choose one, activate only as a sorcery. You either double the number of each kind of counter on target permanent, or double the number of each kind of counter you have. So this can be really good to get you from 6 energy to 12 energy, or something crazy like that. It does cost essentially 5 mana to do so, but can be very worth it. Now be careful if you're infected. This does double the number of infect counters you have, so something to keep in mind there. Chromatic Lantern is alright in here. Commander Sphere, Cultivator's Caravan. They definitely added a bunch of 3 mana rocks, and I would, I didn't do this in this deck tech, but I would definitely essentially take those out and put in a bunch of the 2 mana rocks, because you want to be getting your commander out on turn 3 so you can start generating more energy, right? And you also want more lower to the ground artifacts to be casting to be getting you energy later in the game. So that's really what you want from this deck, I feel like, and they definitely added a couple. Like, they have a Talisman here, they have, Arcane Signet, but they don't really have a lot. But they do have Midnight Clock. I think Midnight Clock's alright too. Aetherworks Marvel is a great way to generate energy, and then you can pay 6, look at the top 6 of your library, you can cast a spell from among them without paying its mana cost, so very strong. Bespoke Battle Wagon can generate you a bunch of energy over time. It can also draw you cards. It can even become, an artifact creature. So, it can be strong there. Panharmonicon is, interesting in a deck with a lot of enter the battlefield triggers. Very strong. Conjurer's Closet, sort of another way to abuse the enter the battlefield triggers. So, pretty good there if you already have a solid creature on board. Aetherflux Conduit is an interesting card. Whenever you cast a spell, get an amount of energy equal to the amount of mana spent to cast that spell. So, paying 6 mana for this, but then you're getting tons of energy afterwards. Then you can tap, pay 50 energy, draw 7. You may cast any number of spells from your hand without paying their mana cost. So this is a really great card, and sort of like a turn before the end game, I guess you would say. Or 2 turns. I don't know. It's kind of expensive for what it is, but it does generate a lot of energy. Bootlegger's Stash is a great reprint of the deck. I don't know how much I love it in this specific deck, but it is a way to sort of generate a bunch of mana value. And then 2 enchantments. We've got Air of Innovation, which you can pay mana to get energy. And then Thopter Spy Network gives us a Thopter each upkeep. And then it draws us cards as well. So, land here, it's a pretty great land package. It comes with Academy Ruins as well to sort of get one of our artifacts from our graveyards back on top of our library. It comes with Treasure Vault as well. So, otherwise, it's mainly just color fixing you, but a really solid deck overall. I'd say they really focused more on energy, which is great, but I think what they could do to improve is make it so that their creatures that you're copying with Saheeli are a lot scarier. So that's kind of what I've done here in my upgrade. So let's talk about cards we want to take out first, and then we'll get into cards we're going to be taking in. Saheeli is not really doing a whole lot for us. We don't get energy from casting her, and we are actually putting in a lot of creatures, so I don't know. I mean, sure, it gives us 1/1 servos, and then the servos can be copies of the other creatures we're casting, but it's not really worth it in my opinion. Aether Skull Ancient also doesn't generate a ton of energy for us, and is just so expensive. It doesn't really do a whole lot. We're essentially using it for the pay 8 energy, and that's such a costly endeavor in this deck. Aethertide Whale. I was thinking about this one. You could honestly probably, instead of taking out Aethertide Whale, you could probably take out this artifact, the Bespoke Battle Wagon, just because Aethertide Whale is actually generating us a lot of energy, and it's a good blocker. So, and you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do that. We'll add the Bespoke Battle Wagon here, and you'll see that in a second. I am going to take that one out instead. Architect of the Untamed. When it enters the battlefield, you get energy counter, and then you can pay 8 energy, create a 6/6 beast. It's all right. We have that Nissa in the deck, and we're actually putting in another card that generates energy when lands enter, so we don't really need this card. It is not bad. It does generate, probably over the game 4 or 5 energy, so not terrible, but not amazing either. Combustible Gear Hulk, like I said, it's pretty inconsistent in this deck. If you're getting if you're making copies of this, you could potentially be drawing, 3 or 6 cards in a game, but at the same time, we've added a bunch of stuff that we'd rather make copies of, and I think Combustible Gear Hulk isn't, that worth it. On a budget, I think Combustible Gear Hulk is great in here, but I don't think we need it, per se. Pima Aetherseer is a good way to generate a bunch of energy, but it's based off of your board state. So you really have to have a strong creature on the board already to sort of get the most value out of this. And then, even then, it's not amazing. Pia and Kira Nalar sort of focuses more on the Thopter, strategy of this deck. We don't really need that, and we don't need to be casting them just for 2 artifacts. Rampaging Aetherhood, I mentioned, was slow. I love it as a card. I want it to work, but it's just slow, unfortunately. In a deck that really needs to generate lots of energy, this doesn't do a whole lot. It does generate you some energy, but then you're essentially incentivized to pay it back into this. So yeah, I don't know. Reckless Fireweaver I took out just because it kind of makes us a target. We do have a lot of artifacts, but I don't think it's enough to really warrant, becoming the target, right? We're already going to be making a bunch of big creatures. I don't know. You could keep this in, but I think this is sort of like we need to, kill Brian now kind of card when they see it and, they're expecting me to play a ton of artifacts. We took out Explosive Vegetation. There's just much better cards in this, and I mentioned, even though we have the couple cards that generate energy when lands enter, I think you want to go mostly an artifact ramp route with this deck just because of our commander's ability. One with the Machine, I also took out. It is card draw, but it, like I said with Pima Aetherseer, it kind of depends on what we have on the board, and it's very inconsistent. I think on average we'll be drawing 3 cards for 4 mana, which isn't terrible, but also, a lot of times it might only be 2 mana, and sometimes it may be more, but it's really dependent. Also, if you cast this on the stack, someone could destroy your 6 mana value artifact, and you may not have anything else but a 2 mana artifact, so you're only drawing 2 cards at that point. So yeah, I don't know. Bootlegger Statue we're also taken out. It's too slow, right? We're paying 6 mana into it, and then we have to tap some more lands to get some stuff back. It takes a while for this to pay for itself. Era of Innovation we took out as well. We don't want to be paying mana for energy. This deck is 2 things, and it's a little bit mana hungry and a little bit energy hungry, and I think, we don't have the extra mana to pay for this kind of stuff. Thopter Spy Network also, we took out. It's slow. It does make us Thopters, and it can draw us cards, but we're adding some more cards that draw us more. And then we did take out one of the 38 lands to make it 37, Temple of Epiphany. So, gonna make it a bit more consistent by running that. I added some ramp pieces to sort of help out as well, so should be good there. Moving on to what we added in, right? We added in Amped Raptor. This can be really good. Early game, it can get you some energy, which is not bad, but late game, you can also, you also cast cards until you get, or exile cards until you exile a non-land card, so that can help you cast things later on. Astral Dragon's really good. It's, 8 mana, but when it enters a battlefield, you make 2 tokens of a non-creature permanent. So, it also makes them 3/3s with flying, so it can definitely be really good, especially with your commander's ability. It can be really strong, so something to watch out for there. Behemoth of Vault 0 makes us energy when it enters, so great, but it's also a 6/6 with trample. When it dies, you can pay an amount of energy equal to target non-land permanent's mana value when you do destroy that permanent. So this will typically, I think 4 is a good solid average for what you'd be paying for this, but also, you might pay more, you might pay less. And it is an artifact which does proc our commander, which is nice. Atali Primal Conqueror, I feel like we got to put in here. Any blank deck or Enter the Battlefield deck with red and green in it, Atali is just a prime fit. Don't even care about flipping it over. You just essentially want to get the Enter the Battlefield trigger here. And if you get a copy with your commander, you're just way ahead at that point. Royal Cartographer is that other card we talked about that when a land enters, you're going to get an energy. So really strong there. And then you can pay 6 energy and tap this to draw 3 cards. Typically, you're not going to use that unless you really need to use that because we're kind of energy hungry in the deck, I would say. But I think if you have it and you need the draw power, go for it. Scourge of the Throne, also an amazing card, can give us some extra combat steps, which is nice, and definitely a solid card there. The Motherlode Excavator, when it enters, it's going to give you a bunch of energy, so, you know, worst case, you can copy this with your commander to get a net gain of energy. One of them is going to have to die because it's a legendary, but this can give you a big surge of energy. And I'm going to move the Bespoke Battle Wagon while I'm thinking about it to the Considering. And that's really solid. You can also pay energy when it attacks to destroy a non-basic land, and then also make it so that creatures without flying can't block this turn. So it's pretty much getting rid of your opponent's creatures with flying, forcing them to block. So really strong there. Trumpeting Carnosaur, another enter the battlefield trigger that's really good for this deck. Discover will cast stuff, so you know, if you're casting those artifacts we have, it's going to be giving energy to your commander. Vaultborn Tyrant, also amazing in this deck when it enters, or you know, other creatures of power 4 or greater, which includes the tokens we're making with Saheeli. We're drawing cards, we're gaining 3 life, and just a really strong card. Volatile Storm Drake, when it enters, gets you 4 energy. Then you can, you know, you exchange it with a creature, pay amount of energy, or you sacrifice that creature, right? So this could be a good energy generator early on. Later on, it can steal something and, you know, or at least get rid of a pesky creature on your opponent's board. Wheel of Potential is good. If you get 3 energy, then you can pay X energy. Each player may exile their hand and draw X cards. If X is 7 or more, you may play cards you own and exile this way. So this is a good way to sort of refill your hand a bit, draw a few cards. Typically, you want to be drawing 3 or more, so you're essentially netting negative on the energy, but I don't think this is bad. In a worst case scenario, you can just pay this to get 3 energy, so, you know, that, and then, you know, 3 mana to get a copy of Trumpeting Carnosaur, not bad. We also included Felwar Stone as sort of the land replacement here, another 2-drop artifact to be able to cast our commander, or I guess this kind of also gets rid of Explosive Vegetation, but really strong, you know, 2-drop artifact. We want more of those in here. Garruk's Uprising, similar to Vaultborn Tyrant's second ability. It's drawing us cards when we, you know, have those tokens enter, when we have the, you know, our other big creatures enter, we're going to be drawing cards. And then it gives us, you know, creatures trample. Timorous Tendency is similar, right? It's giving our creatures haste, and then whenever a creature power 4 or greater enters under our control, we draw a card. So strong there. And then I think this is an, you know, underrepresented card, underutilized card. It's one of my favorites, Industrial Advancement. Beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice a creature. If you do, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is that creature's mana value. You may put a creature card from one of them onto the battlefield, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So this is fantastic in the deck, especially because your commander makes you sacrifice those creatures at the end step. So, right, and when that ability goes on the stack, so does this one. You can have this one resolve first, sacrifice the token. You know, mana value is a copyable trait of creatures, so the token you sacrifice has that same mana value, and so you will be able to, you know, say you sacrifice a Scourge to the Throne, or, you know, worst case, it's like an Amped Raptor. You get to essentially get a free creature. You look at the top X cards and get a free creature. So really strong card in this deck once you have it going here. But I'd say the biggest thing, even with my upgrades, the biggest thing this deck struggles with probably is energy generation, right? It may take a couple turns after your commander's out for you to generate enough mana to make a copy of something you really like. Hopefully I've helped alleviate some of that with like the draw power that we've added in, and some of these cards that like cast more spells when they get cast, or copy things when they get, you know, cast. Like, so hopefully that definitely helps alleviate that there. But this deck looks super fun. I'm definitely interested in building it, so let me know in the comments below, you know, what you'd put in, what you'd take out of the Precon. I hope you enjoyed the, you know, the video, but don't forget that we are giving away a free Artherdrift commander deck. Make sure to comment on this video as well what your favorite energy card is, and we are going to have a great time giving away that commander deck a week after this video goes live on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/KayadaCrew. Chaotic Commander MTG. So make sure to check that out, and very excited for that. Take care, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.